The dads are back.
Yo,
100T is back, not only in the finals, but as your North American champions, Jordan. We are champions. Can't get tired of it saying it. It's just so good, so good.
Turns out, Cole, it's still not old to say it, to hear it. I don't know how long the shelf life of this moment will be, but it's certainly more than a day.
Infinite shelf life.
Look, we did a long show yesterday.
We sure did.
and getting excited and talking to everybody about how amazing this is. But there's still plenty to talk about. Believe it or not, it's still just as amazing.
Yeah, man. Oh my goodness. So what we're gonna do here is, so last night, like, we just kind of hung out, talked, and enjoyed the moment, with you guys. And we're still not gonna do, I don't think, like our usual structure, our usual approach to doing pods. It's still gonna be more of a free flowing conversation, but we'll try to get more into the games, more into the implications, and be more concrete about it. But I just want to say that stream last night was super fun, and it felt like a huge reward for years of watching this team, and just being able to share the moment with Jordan, with you, and also with chat, with 100T fans, some of the most devoted 100T fans, long-standing 100T fans who have gone through a lot waiting to get there, but we made it. We made it all the way. So actually, speaking of, how great that stream was, did want to start off the show by playing you guys an excellent moment from the show. I know, like, a lot of you were in the chat, you were watching last night, but just in case you missed it, and for everybody else, while we were on stream, we actually got a call from 100T staff, and it was really awesome. So we just want to play that call back really quick so you guys can re-enjoy that moment as we will re-enjoy the moment together. So let's go over and check that out really quick. There we go. There we go. Look at that, boys.
All right.
Are we live?
You can see this now.
Yo!
Fucking did it.
That's right, baby. Look at that trophy. Hey.
For you guys.
How are you guys feeling?
How are we feeling? Papa Smithy, how are we feeling? Feeling pretty good.
You guys did a fine and dandy job today. We were very proud.
All in the good day's work.
What do we say?
Yo! My dudes, thank you so much, man. You guys don't know how happy you've made us today. Oh my goodness.
Oh, sorry.
Popping bottles still. Let's go. Hey, what are you drinking, John? Good timing.
I want you guys to know it's been the whole community is just like, everybody's so happy. And you guys, it's thanks to you. So you had a lot of happy fans out there today.
Yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for sticking with us from the very beginning through the thick and thin. We fucking did it. We are on top.
That's right. That's right. Everyone on notice now.
I think I found you guys on the internet after we, knock on wood or whatever, we traded away videos, and it's been a long time since then. Yeah, we've done it. So anyway, wanted to quickly say hi, show off the trophy to the gang.
Amazing.
And I don't know if we have. Oh, real quick, we got the man of the hour, Matthew Haig. You're live.
Nation, what's up, boss?
My fucking boys.
How are you, boss?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, guys, I can't not say swear words. I don't know. I can't help it. How we feeling after finally fucking winning?
It's unbelievable. Let's go.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Hey, you got the Dom P
really
today?
The definition of day one. I mean, through the ups and downs, I love it. I absolutely love it. You guys deserve this just as much as us. That's kind of fucked up to think about. That's amazing.
Hey, man. Well, you guys did the best job of building this org. Like, we were talking earlier on stream, that video of you, Jackson, and John just celebrating after that win, man. That was like honestly emotional moment for me. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's like
I'm glad to hear that.
from 2018 heist to now. You know what I mean? It's just insane, man. I'm so proud of you guys.
You know what you guys remind me of when we were losing?
About to get roasted.
You guys ever see that TikTok or that meme where that guy's like fake DJing and there's like two guys?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, off the balcony.
That's under thought. All right, hey. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great night. Thanks.
All right, you too. Enjoy it, boss. Enjoy it.
I think we're gonna have to leave it at that. But yeah, we'll give you one. I'm probably gonna screw it up. But this is the very high resolution. Look at that trophy. Horizontal, maybe. I don't know.
It's a beaut.
Anyway.
It's a beaut.
I can't wait.
You guys deserve it.
And shouts to the Hunter Talk community in the Discord. You guys are the real ones, and thanks for supporting us. This is for you guys too.
Man.
We'll see you guys
Can't
soon.
wait to see you live.
Thank you guys.
Bye,
Congrats.
guys.
Live it
Enjoy.
up.
Bye.
So even though getting roasted in the clip, man, just what a moment. What a moment for the community. What a moment for the fans.
I actually didn't catch this when he said it live, but he said when we were losing. And look, let me just tell you something that you and I have noticed before. It's like we'll beat C9, you know, we'll stop C9's unbeaten streak, and our numbers that night or the next day, the next show, are great. Like people show up, they're super excited. There were times doing this show that numbers were not good, and there was not a lot of fan enthusiasm. And you know, I think the way I understood that is, you know, we just kept at it. We were having fun playing music for the 2 or 3 people who decided to show up to chat to talk about, boy, this you know, this spot is not the best spot we've been in, but we're gonna stick with it. So that's how I heard that, and I think it's true. It is totally true.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, like, we don't have an audience. You know, it's not like we came to this show with like a group of people who knew anything about us or who we were. So it is very cool to now see so many familiar names in chat, people who've been watching us and sticking around and who can think back to, that was a pretty rough stretch of time there as a fan, to now have this moment where it's like you look out on the crowd and it feels a lot more like a party. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Man, and some of those people are rocking, you know, pushing 36 months on their Twitch sub streaks. So,
right.
Oh man, well, what a weekend it was. I think, I don't even know. We don't know the structure tonight. We don't know where to start. I do think we should, before we just dive into absolutely pummeling Team Liquid and how that made us feel, we should touch on the C9 series, because like all the focus for us, you know, up to this point has been on the championship, obviously, as it should be. But we actually played 2 series this weekend, and I don't want to dive into what happened in each game or, you know, anything like that. Especially because, quite honestly, everything runs together for me. It was like so intense. And
Cole, do you remember at 12:49 in game 3 of the C9 series, where, I mean, that was a really concerning play. I don't know if you remember that specifically. And I'm powered by Rip It tonight. I don't know.
Oh, did we not say that? Sorry. Yes, definitely powered by Rip It. I got my GeForce can. I had my Celebration X last night. Now I got my GeForce.
The only way to do back-to-back shows on back-to-back nights is if you're powered by Rip It.
That's right. But yeah, so C9 series, you know, was obviously closer, not just in game score, but also in the actual matches played. Mm-hmm. The one really thing I think I just want to talk about the resilience that the team showed, because look, game 1 was a good win. It was a solid win. It wasn't a dominant win, I wouldn't say, except for in the team fight realm, where we really showed out in a big way. But game 2, man, like, the team had to crawl back. One of the questions about 100T going into this weekend was, can they flip a gold lead? You know, like if we're behind, can we make the comeback? Which we made a 12K comeback the previous weekend, right? And so that was huge. But when we didn't have like the right early games and stuff, there's still a little bit of a question mark there. There was question marks about what our team comps would be like. And so going into the C9 series was a little weird because comp wise, it wasn't that different. And then in game 2, we got behind significantly and found a way to show that same resilience. If you do it once, it's like good and it may be lucky. If you do it over and over again, it's, one of your qualities. It's one of the attributes of your team. And so what I think we've seen is that this team is going to find a way, and they're gonna win a lot more games than you would think they would. The closer play, man, the Lee Sin insec onto Sven in mid lane, that Sven is going to be seeing in his dreams and nightmares for decades to come. That was unbelievable play. Just think about if he misses that. Think about if that doesn't work out. What do you have? You have him burning everything to get deep into the team and just get blown up.
Yeah.
Right? There's not really a way out of that play. And if it doesn't work out, it looks real stupid. But my man was clean with it. Pulled off the play and ripped the win away.
Yeah.
Elder Dragon off the back of that. And we closed it out, and we never even evened up the gold score or anything like that. We just had closer diff. You know what I mean? So
that'd be an interesting stat. Like how many wins does a team have with a gold deficit? Because in the last few series, we've got to be up toward the top of that. Which, look, I would not recommend it as a play style to have, defining your team. But boy, does it feel good to win some of those games because no one expects you to, right? And that probably also the enemy team. Like, talk about a mental blow.
Yeah.
In some of those. So
yeah,
that was a big one. That was a very big play.
Then one of the other things,
Aphelios too.
Yeah, the Aphelios was good. Yeah, this is the thing. It's like you could see it starting to emerge at that point because the Aphelios pick came out and was very effective, and it was a preview of what would happen against TL. And then also I was going to say Ssumday made Fudge a non-factor, right? He was except for Fudge's Viego game. I think that was game 3.
Game 2, he played it for sure.
Was it game 2? Okay.
Game 3, he was on NAR.
Okay. My bad. So yeah, his Viego game was all right, man. But Ssumday largely made Fudge unimportant. And again, foreshadowing what would happen in the TL series. It's really interesting how things have built up like for the team, because we looked great, and then as the split started wrapping up, it looked like we had all these cracks that were showing and crumbling, and the wheels are starting to fall off. And then it's like we gradually solved all of those problems.
Yeah.
On the way to winning an LCS title. It was so cool. Like, I just love that, how you could just see aspects of it. I mentioned on the celebration stream last night that 100T put out comms from the previous weekend or whatever in the heist, and just watching FBI's intensity when they'd already won the game, but he wants to kill whoever it was. He's going after like, get this effort. You know what I mean? Like, you could just see all of these things. Like, these guys are going in. These guys are going to win. It was Alfari. Yeah, thanks, Sandwich. It was Alfari at the end of that game, and it's just like the mentality emerged. We saw problems be solved, and then we came into Team Liquid on Sunday as huge underdogs.
Yeah, massive.
You could probably count the number of analysts who picked us to win on one hand. Yeah,
two.
So yeah, well, with the LCS staff, right, and then we had with Nick from Upcomer also with the prediction.
Yeah. Right.
Pretty much no one else, right?
All right. You could throw in the 100 talk analysts, which aren't really
I was gonna say I picked the loss. Yeah. I thought we were gonna get swept out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was not the case. Not the case. We showed up ready to play like when you set the stage with the opening ceremony and you see the faces on those guys who were in the middle of it's like in a standard situation. It's a great ceremony. It's cool. It's in front of fans or whatever. They don't have that. So they're just on stage, just thinking about what's about to happen. And if you compare the faces of the guys on Team Liquid with the guys on 100 Thieves, that is your predictor. You know what I mean? Like if you're letting people bet on the series up until the last minute, that's when the lines start changing.
Right. Somebody's like, "Can we just change? Can we flip it? Just flip it and change."
Which is funny too, because one of the memes we use in 100T fandom is the LeBron locked in against the Celtics meme whenever we're in playoff runs, and that's like you look at closer and it's virtually the same thing.
Right. Yeah, dude, it was okay. So, can I ask you the first question here?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Come to mind as you've laid this or set the scene for us. When you have a consensus favorite, as you do, and it's an absolute wipeout, no contest, not close. It was never a doubt. You can only attribute that to a couple things. One team vastly overperforms. Three things. One team vastly underperforms, or some mix of the two. So where would you put it? Like, how do you think about the result 24 hours later?
Well, it's a frame of reference question, really. Because clearly the analysts underestimated what we were able to do, but again, we hadn't shown that form as of late. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a slow build to that. And again, you could see it emerge. So if you are really reading the tea leaves with the team, I think you would know. And a lot of that stuff was probably just behind the scenes. Like if you're on the team or on the staff, you know that. I'm sure they felt confident. I think like it's kind of hard to know that outside. And then when you think of how we beat them, it's like, well, Team Liquid didn't really get a chance to show how they play because we beat them so bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to really answer that question. I mean, I would say that the vast majority of it is underrating 100T because, like look at how everybody stepped up, who didn't play excellently.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I think that's it. It's easy to say Viego, right? Like you can't let closer on Viego. Lesson learned. I mean, TL social accounts were memeing their own team about it. But you think back to the games, and it's not like it was just closer, right? Like we've left in the same way that we had in the previous series throughout the playoffs. We had a lot of advantages around the map, and it was not just one player who was hard carrying the game. I mean, obviously, closer had an unbelievable series where he did make some insane plays.
I think you mean finals MVP closer.
Sorry, yes, his full government name at this point.
Yes, it's been changed already. Staff is on top of it.
That's right. So they just took care of themselves. But it's you can't even point to one thing. So it's not even like, well, closer blew up the series. It really was a dominant performance on all sides. I felt like just think about that dive in game one. It was flawlessly executed from literally every person on the team. We were all there, and we didn't lose a single person. We got 4. Like
the way they juggled the turret aggro.
Yeah, it was the culmination of what felt like. I love that. It was like, oh, it's like lock-in. How many times do you get that where you're like, this looks like us when we were at our best almost a full year ago, and here we are. We're back. I think it just kind of set the stage for the entire series. Like, oh, this team is cooking. Look out. Like, this is what everybody thought this team could do, and here we are. We're pulling it off. Game 1.
Yeah, and game 1, not a close game. Not a game that looked good for them.
No.
Before we dive into just some observations from the games, let's. I hope you haven't read all the way to the bottom of our rundown because I have some notes with some fun stats and some of them we can ask you as questions. So maybe.
Oh, I haven't. We're good.
Okay, cool. Jordan, Huhi had the lowest KDA of all 100T players this weekend. What would you guess his KDA was?
I think I did see this one. so I should just be honest.
I did read to the end of the rundown.
I don't want to. I think it was like, I would have to guess. It's probably like 5.97.
It's 5.3. Okay.
Oh, I was off. I was way off.
And Jordan, no one else on 100 Thieves was in single digits. For KDA.
That's an unbelievable statistic.
Closer was at
so...
20. These are from Kale Maldoran, by the way, the stats guy. Fun stats from Kale Maldoran. Closer was at 20. Jordan, percentage-wise, so 0 to 100%. How many of the jungle objectives do we take in the series? I think he means neutrals.
Okay. I did not read this far. 90%.
That's the answer.
Yes.
90% of objectives. TL only had 2 Drakes and 1 Rift Herald. All right. Jordan.
Dang.
Collectively, all in, how many turrets were lost by 100T in this series?
5?
4. 4.
Oh, 1/4. Dang, man. And look, I want to just call back. You remember during the cast when there was this kind of like awkward exchange where Freak was like, they're just 1 kill away and a couple turrets or like something from a perfect game. And there's a moment where they're like, I mean, it's not a perfect game. And he's like, but it's close.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was kind of like useless to call that out because it's not a perfect game. But when you do a stat like that, I'm like, I think Freak was onto something here. Like this, technically not a perfect game. And I think was this the series where there was like a kick at the end? No, that was a different series. I feel like there was another garbage time kill on this one, where they got somebody.
Yeah, I think you were thinking of the 19-3 game from the previous weekend.
I swear there's another, but unimportant. But it was like, I think even those stats, like the KDs might have been even higher, like it could have been even a little bit higher. So that's crazy.
Jordan, how many kills did Team Liquid get across the entire series?
Well, they paid dearly for 2 of them on Ssumday, so we know there's at least 2. I'm going to say 9.
It is 12.
Okay.
Now that
12.
includes the garbage time. It also does not include the 2 turret executions we had across the series.
Doesn't. They didn't get credit for those?
That's why I said how many kills did they get, not how many deaths did we have, right? So
12.
Those are some fun cherry pick stats that
love
that say something about how much of a stomp this was.
Unbelievable.
If again, without knowing which team was which, if you said these were the stats from the game, who was it? Most people would have been like, yeah, TL, back in form, baby.
And I just want to call out, Kane in chat is saying that FBI did die to the spawn in game 1. So that's what I was thinking of. So because I think otherwise he had like, that might have ruined a flawless stat line for him. Yeah, he was 5, 1, and 4, and the 1 was in the fountain. Somebody got him in there.
Yep.
Very
dominant.
Crazy, man.
Very dominant.
Very, very dominant. I mean, what you could say is, sort of what you could expect when you get a 2 versus 5 in the finals, right? Like it felt like that, which is weird. I don't know.
Right. It's like, actually, if you just go through the seeding, you would have been you would have been better at your prediction, right? Well, not you, but in general, because obviously you were the one who predicted it right. So though I'm not sure the stomp to this degree was in your prediction.
No, I will not claim that.
Let's be honest. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to? Oh gosh, like I said, there's so many things. Do you want to talk about draft?
Yeah, let's talk about draft.
Okay, so draft. I think a lot of how I view this series is based on the framing of going into this. What did people expect? You know what I mean? And so one of the things for us was, hey, are we dealing with like a limited champ pool Ssumday? Like, is he just going to be on Orn or Gnar for the whole series? What are we doing there? What surprises do we have in store? What did we learn from our last TL series? Like, and what adjustments are we going to make? Those are all the question marks that we had.
Yeah.
They were immediately answered, I would say. Like we came out with some different things. Now, Jordan, if you had to pick one draft choice out of all the 100T draft choices from the TL series, what one do you think was the most surprising to you?
Well, my immediate answer is Shen.
Ssumday Shen.
And I haven't reviewed all of the picks to tell you. I mean, there are certainly other things, but I'm going to go with my gut instinct, which is Shen. I was very surprised to see that.
Yeah. Huhi All-Star is probably another, very good candidate for that. I was personally surprised by Jin coming out again.
Yeah. Jin.
But at least we had played that before, so it wasn't like a huge surprise or whatever. But so we get the Shen and Alistar in game 1. And with so much of the common wisdom being Alfari's going to go in and smack around Ssumday, and Ssumday's going to have to hide on this champion. What is he going to do? And the Shen comes out and it's like, how is this going to work out? And the answer was very well.
Yeah. Amazingly.
I think it's like part of it was just, what? If we are going to get smashed in lane, Alfari's a great laner, right? No one can deny it.
Yeah.
So if we're going to smash in lane, why not leave it? Like why not try and be effective somewhere else? And we gave the mobility into Ssumday, who was smurfing on the pick. Now, I'm not sure how many of you guys were able to catch Summoning Insight with Papa Smithy earlier today. One of the things I said, one of the things he said, and I don't have it word for word, but I'm fairly sure he said that Ssumday had maybe practiced Shen in scrims once or twice in the past month.
Wow.
So it was
wild.
it wasn't like a hardcore prepped pick.
Yep.
Okay. So questions about Ssumday's champ pool. He was able to reach in and pull out a Shen kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And made excellent use of it. It looked great.
Well, and I think this is worth noting. I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering right, summer 2021 LCS, 1% pick rate, 1% ban rate. I'm pretty sure this is not a champ that people have been going to. If you're that low, this is a non-meta champ. And it was a direct answer, right? So unless I'm misremembering it, but I'm pretty sure that when they flashed that up on the screen, I was like, dang, this is really...
Yeah, I don't remember seeing the presence on there.
Yeah.
But and that was an Alfari Camille that he was playing into. So it was a nice answer. Alfari Camille, pick that I was scared of. I think pick that a lot of people are scared of. But man, what an amazing choice to pull out of nowhere. Now, the Alistar, I'm not sure, was that practice in scrims a lot? I don't think Huhi had played that for a really long time, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be trolling on that. It certainly wasn't what I was expecting to see.
No.
And holy cow. Yeah. So clean all weekend. I mean, he played all 3 games on the Alistar. Yeah. So clean. Some breathtaking plays on the Alistar. So again, immediate answer to the questions.
Yeah.
And do you remember how some people were like, has Reaper, like K's, by the way, which we kind of made up on Twitter because he owned his wrongness.
That's good. That's good.
One of the things he said, has Reaper ever delivered in the playoffs? And it's look at this 5-course meal Reaper prepared.
Has ever a take aged more poorly?
Yeah. It was so good. It was such good planning. And there was also discussion on Summoning Insight about when you're drafting, it's not as simple as like, oh, they let this power pick through. Why could they ever do that? And of course, in reference to the Viego, how it's way more nuanced than that. And they had something that they wanted to do into the Viego and it just didn't work and that sort of thing. Right. There was lots of like, it's not as black and white as it seems. That's what Papa Smithy was saying. And,
I get that. I get that. You don't let a power pick through unless you have a plan.
Right.
Because otherwise you're inting, right? Like you're just
right. Because he didn't. Yeah, it's like it's not like they forgot Viego was a champ. Right. They didn't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but usually it becomes apparent after the game what the plan was. I still don't know what the plan was, and then they did it again, and it didn't become clear what the plan was. You know, so it's like that feels like an executional error, unless their entire plan was to have Lee Sin in the game because he's the only constant from games 1 and 2, right? Every other champion is different. So did they have plan A and plan B, and then plan C was just to lose game 3 more quickly? Or like, what are we talking about here? Because it, you know, so that for me, that's like, from a draft perspective, it is hard for me to fathom why that is what they went for.
Yeah.
I get it. We're not gonna settle that because we're not behind the scenes here. But it looks a bit silly, you know, in retrospect.
Yeah, in results-based analysis, it looks a bit silly.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, we haven't even talked about the Viego yet, which because it's not a surprise. We're in the surprise draft.
The only surprise about it is that they allowed us to have it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad they did. I'm glad they gave it to us.
Two games in a row.
I'm a big Viego fan now.
Yeah.
I'm a really big Viego fan.
Me too. I no longer have questions about it. But yeah, I'm shocked that after game 1 they decided to run it back, allowing that through. You know, but cool.
It's
as we said last night.
Done that.
Jat would have banned it.
I think Jat would have banned it. Yeah. It's because we've done this. You know, we went out and we tried a thing, karma, and it didn't work. We're like, let's do a tweak and try the thing again, and it worked. And then we earned the ban in the future upcoming weeks, right? Until Riot banned karma.
Yeah.
So, but like, this is my honest question. It feels like there was just a breakdown in the approach, because when you have, it's kind of like if you're doing a full lineup switch, you literally have different champions in every position except jungle, and you're going back into what is potentially a run back from us. It's like I'm not sure what the plan was.
What the thinking was behind that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear, but
yeah,
because the Jace was the only thing that did anything in game 2. He was the only one who got a kill except for Santorin. Yeah,
and really that didn't start happening until later in the game.
Yeah, he got like a triple or a double.
Right.
It was a double,
yeah. So it was not early on. It was not really a factor.
Yeah.
So yeah, question marks about that for sure. And you know, didn't really, at least from what I saw, there wasn't a whole lot of information from TL on why they did what they did, but clearly they were confident in something. But to me, it's like, I think it was a combination of overconfidence plus I just don't feel like they prepared drafts for us.
Yeah.
And that was one of my biggest things, was like, it doesn't look like they're drafting against 100 Thieves. It looks like they're drafting against X opponent. You know what I mean? Just like
right.
A replacement
opponent.
Level. Yeah. Opponent. It didn't seem like they were drafting against us in particular.
Right. Like they got rid of Diana over Viego. It's like,
well, you don't want closer on Diana either. So I don't know. Maybe that's an EG draft they had drawn up. Like, oh, can't let contracts have Diana. But you know, closer's obviously amazing at that pick too. But as we know, as we know, he's amazing on pretty much anything you put him on. But yeah, I just didn't get the feel that this was a 100 Thieves prepped draft for Team Liquid, and maybe it was they just felt sure that they would see C9.
And I mentioned this yesterday. It's possible that they felt like we played 100 Thieves a week ago and we had a thing that worked. But here's the thing. When you and we talked about how important this would be if this team hoped to accomplish what we had talked about accomplishing. And look, we weren't even talking about a trophy as a team and organization. We were talking about worlds and doing better.
Yeah.
And that still felt like a lofty goal. And in order to accomplish that, we said they've got to bring different looks. And when we fell into that rut where it looked like we were just doing the same look. Like, this is going to make it really hard. You know, we went from unpreparable against in a best of 5 to now we're doing the same thing every time, and it's getting pretty kind of stale.
Yeah.
And we've come way full circle. Like, and it's all, you know, full credit to Reaper on that, because that's, you know, yeah, everybody gets credit. The players executed amazingly. Hands were good, but getting this team out of the rut and into a place where, from the TL series, where TL felt like they had us figured out clearly based on what we saw on Sunday, to the C9 series where we saw different stuff than we saw in the TL series the very next day. That's an insane amount to show in a week. It's 1 week of play. That's a pretty unbelievable accomplishment just from a prep and, you know, like mental fortitude standpoint. It's remarkable how quickly we got back up to the point where we could bring different stuff. Guarantee you they were not expecting a Shen. I guarantee you that. There's no way, you know? So that is, for me, the biggest thing. It's like we kept it fresh, we brought new looks, and we returned to the form that we had before from a prep and coaching standpoint, which is, I don't know how you ban against this team.
Yeah. And it's especially funny. Chat's pointing this out, but if you watch some of the post game press conference, like Travis had that stream to his channel, for instance, they were talking about how their scrims were actually like not good because they didn't really have anyone to scrim against, as Team Liquid had been one of our primary scrim partners during the playoffs. And so they achieved a lot of their improvement through just VOD review. And how weird is that?
That's amazing.
Because let me tell you, we do Rec League every week. I basically don't play League of Legends anymore. We watch Rec League like every week, and I'm not getting better at League of Legends. Jordan, are you?
I don't know, Cole. Our win rate in the Rip It Rumble is still 100%. So, I mean,
but I said improve. We haven't improved over 100% yet.
That's true. That's true.
We're slacking.
Hey, one other point I want to make on the draft thing is, I think the perfect realization of the bind that this puts teams in when you can bring new looks, unexpected things, is game 3. 3 jungle bans in the first set.
Oh yeah,
and they first picked a jungler. Yeah, they hit the panic button. Cole, they did full. They had their hand on the fire alarm, and they're like, no, hit the panic button instead, and it spectacularly failed. Game 3 was the least competitive, I'd say, of the two. We had only one player die, and it was Huhi, because he was getting Trundle ulted on Alistar. Like, that was their entire, team fight plan. It's like, quick, kill Huhi. And then no one else died for the entire game. So you can triple ban Closer if you'd like to. And you can first pick on blue side away from him if you choose to do that. But that means you get Ryze and Aphelios and Gangplank and Lee Sin, who is still really good, and Alistar. You get 4 other things that are going to be a problem for you.
Yeah.
Like, that's the full power of this team, is you have picks in every lane that are going to create a problem for you. And that's exactly what happened in game 3. They had problems everywhere on the map because they were panicked fully. They were consumed by their panic for Closer. And they couldn't even stop him. And he still made insane plays.
Yeah, and the way he coordinated it with the rest of the team also, especially like seeing the Ryze ults.
Yeah.
Like kicking someone into the middle of a Ryze ult.
That was next level. Dude.
Seriously, it was like,
I haven't seen that.
It's like watching an NBA game, and then like it's so like one team's crushing the other one so bad that it kind of devolves into a dunk contest on the breakaways, like those early 2010s games that would get like that. Geez, that they just were styling all over them, and it just like they were laughing in the player like cams and stuff, and it just having a good time playing League of Legends, beating the stuffing out of the Team Liquid teddy bear, or the horse, I guess, the horse mascot. Haven't seen that horse mascot in a while. R.I.P. live events, right?
Yeah, COVID's been rough on the live mascot scene. It brings to mind the LeBron James, Dwayne Wade dunk picture. You know, like they're making posters. You know, like that's what they were able to do. I want to get that as a GIF. Just the Lee Sin kick into the rise. Well,
oh man. Anything else on just draft?
Nah, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. It was very good.
Masterclass.
You know what I should have pulled? I should have pulled the results of all the polls that I was doing on draft. So I did that for both series on Twitter, just really quick, like right after draft for 5 minutes. You know, how's everybody feeling on our draft? And I've actually done that in previous years when we have not had Reaper drafts. And the results were definitely different than any other time that we've had that. I think I think it was something like 85% of people who were responding were saying we were winning the draft in every game.
Yeah.
It was nutty. And maybe it was a little closer in game one, but a lot of confidence in the draft, which when you have fans saying that before the game starts, you know, like, you know, you're doing a good job with it, because fans always will find a way to complain about the draft.
Right.
You know what I mean? They always will. That's in our nature. But yeah, in watching so the broadcast does the who's winning champ select kind of thing.
Yeah. And
it seemed like directly proportional to whether he got Viego or not for closer. It's like, as soon as closer's locked in with Viego's like 86%. 100 Thieves is winning draft, which is especially funny because that's like, you know, that's basically a like, who are you cheering for poll.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Who has more? That's what they should just relabel it. Who has more fans in chat? You know. But
yeah,
even TL fans at that point, I'm sure we're spamming 100T because it was plain to see.
Yeah, there was just they didn't have anything, and especially like I tweeted before Game 3 started, I was like, "There's no way Team Liquid doesn't pull out something and fight back here," and it was like we got Nar, Trundle, LeBlanc, Varus, and Leona. It was like this, you know, more of the same basically. I guess I don't know if Santorin played Trundle in any of the other games. I don't think he did.
I think he has a Trundle. I feel like that's
I'm sure he has one. I'm just saying in our series, he played he played Lee Sin.
Lee
Sin and then Trundle. There was just nothing. Like it was, they just didn't have anything. No answers. Just like Cold in his game conferences that he'd do. I don't even know why they sideline report with him.
I think it's
what's your strategy? We're gonna try and kill the Nexus. Can't stand it, man.
My sympathy to the Tigress on those, like,
yeah, for sure.
She's probably like, really, I gotta talk to this guy again? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and she's got Abbedagge popping off, dropping F-bombs on broadcast too. It's quite a weekend for her. All right, let's do this then. We won. We're the champions. We got the title.
There it is. We did it. They can never take that away from us, Cole. The banner will hang eternally.
That's right. Let's talk about the players. Let's talk about our players. Number one on my list, the Ssumday redemption arc.
Yes.
Has there ever been anything more pleasurable than watching all the reaction post-series to Ssumday? All the Ssumday, you know, interview hits where we're trying not to cry as we watch him do the same.
Yeah.
Talking about how much he's given and tried and worked hard. The post-game presser, he had a similar thing like that, you know. And then everybody just showing their appreciation for him.
Yep. On
the backs of weeks, if not months, of people casting doubt on him. Mm-hmm. Us included, right? Us being like, hey, you know, one of the things for us is, can we work around his limitations? This dude got better and better and better in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is not what you usually expect. You usually expect the opposite, right? Like a gradual breakdown. He ramped up like crazy. He shut everybody who ever said a bad word about him up.
Yeah.
He played so well. He knew in this series that they were basically going to try and dominate him. You know what I mean? It's like, look, we've got Alfari. We want to strike blows to their morale too. So we're going to, Core JJ roam camp him and Santorin camp him, and Alfari is going to talk his talk. And he just absorbed it like a pro, didn't give away too much.
Like old Ssumday.
Made great plays. Team fought unbelievably well.
Yep.
He had so many moments where he set things up in the perfect way. I mean, they dove him in topside when he was at tier 2 tower, and he flashes into the jungle.
Yeah.
And I bet you that they jumped on it immediately, and as they were throwing out all their abilities to kill him, I bet the realization happened. Oh no. He just set us up.
Yep.
And like, here come the rest of 100 Thieves, and they're to like wipe them. What a flash that was. What a setup that was. What about when he TP'd late into that one fight in mid? I think it was game 3.
Yeah.
It was his Camille game. Was that game 3? That was game 2. Game 2. And he held his hook shot. Wait, am I tripping? When was? I'm tripping. Am I thinking of the CL series? I'm thinking of the C9 series.
Game
Excuse
4
me.
CL. Yes. Game 4
Game
CL.
4 C9. Sorry, guys. It's been a blur. Held his hook shot. Held his TP, then held his hook shot to wait for perks.
Mhm.
Like, you just see him like perched on the little ruins of the tower, it gets this up. It was so good, man. He played so well this weekend. His like relentless pursuit as Renekton into the base at the end of, was that game 2 from TL?
So,
where he just pushed in after like we set up the comeback. And as it was happening, I was like, what is he doing? But he knew, like, he had done the math in his kind boy 200 IQ brain and crunched the numbers. He knew what he was doing, man. It was amazing. It was like he's just channeling like vintage Ssumday in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. It got better and better and better in the face of mounting pressure. In the face of like I'm serious, this was like the main point that caused everybody to predict Team Liquid over us, really, if we're being honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, it feels like the position in the LCS where there's been the most improvement. I mean, people talk about Alfari as being the best player, best laner, certainly, in the LCS, at any position, in any lane. Ssumday ran the gauntlet, right? He went up against Playoff Impact, and he went up against Fudge, who a lot of people talk about as being the strength of C9 in their current iteration. Like, he was their standout at MSI, and he's been consistent for them as a strong player, a strong presence. And he went up against Alfari.
Fudge, by the way, first team All-Pro Fudge.
First team All-Pro Fudge.
Didn't notice he was playing, basically.
Yeah, he was a non-factor. He had a 4-1-4 game on Viego, which it's like, if you show up to a team fight and your team is competent, that you're probably going to leave with at least a few kills, He didn't just not lose these series. He won. He won these series. It's insane. It's really, and like, there's a version of this where we still hoist the trophy and we still say we're the champs. And it's like, and Ssumday didn't lose it,
Yeah.
And that would be understandable and fine because his position is stacked and he has, there's a lot of fresh new talent who is hungry in the LCS. And it's sometimes the thing your team needs you to do is just to not lose. And we were fully prepared for that, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get him into situations where he can still contribute? He's still like an insane team fighter, like other things might have changed. I mean, he went out on top. It's the perfect conclusion to the Ssumday story. that he odds have never been higher, and against more stacked against him, and he showed people, man, like he had 3 series of note all the way through playoffs.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I'm so proud of him, and just being the franchise player, the one who's been there from the beginning. Seeing him, that picture of him hugging Nade shot, seeing him lift the trophy, like it was what everybody needed. Everybody needed to see that. The memes that J-Pat made, the Ninja Turtles meme, right? With Splinter and the young turtles being Ssumday and the old guys, and then Ssumday with the grown-up turtles in the current lineup. Like, it was so good, man. I like that was seriously the most emotional part of the weekend for me was watching him. And like so much of it is the pressure he puts on himself, the self-esteem stuff that, you see him like just be in really dark places when he's not doing as well as he wants to do. Even when he was like in great form, but just the team would not be good. Like 2019, he would just go to some dark places sometimes. So to see him get this payoff, man, and win the title. As I tweeted out, Kind Boy is now Kind Champion.
Someday was yesterday.
So a sip of the rip
to you, sir.
To Kind Boy. Thank you, Ssumday. All right, next player.
Next
closer. My goodness. Do you think someone was a little upset at the MVP award?
It is possible.
It is possible that someone had a little extra edge to them because of Spica getting the award. Now, disclosure time. You know how we do this. Spica, great split. And totality of the split makes a difference. It's a regular season award. Cool. In my mind, like, closer was certainly in consideration for MVP because we didn't do as well down the stretch when everybody's making up their minds with votes. I mean, I can understand why he wasn't given the award. All right. Mm-hmm. But there isn't a question anymore on who's actually the best jungler in NA.
Right.
How good he played during this playoffs and how the casters are watching him and talking about him, it's reminiscent of some of these like monster like LCK, LPL junglers when they come into Worlds and like they're just setting up like this jungler is a takeover jungler. He's going to go off. Like that's what it feels like Closer is being set up as. He was lights out. The Viego is literally a loss. You drafted a loss if he gets it. And his Lee Sin is somehow fancier than his Viego.
Right.
So this dude has won himself a lot of fans this year. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just a quick note on the Viego. Viego's kit is good in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot built into that to just close out fights. The resets, the heals, the gap closers, like it's there. The dude's a full champ. He's got camouflage, he's got empowered autos, all this stuff. I love when Closer takes other players. He is consistently masterful in how he uses everybody else in a team fight, dude. It's so fun to watch. And at first when they talked about Viego, I was like, I don't know if that's going to be fun. That seems stupid and busted, but like from a pure spectator standpoint, man, watching this dude set up, you get the support kill first and then you re-engage for the rest of your team. And then you go back into killer mode and you steal someone else's body. And now you're an ADC. Like, he is kind of the full package, man. And he doesn't miss.
He's like Neo in the Matrix,
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun champ.
It's really fun player. And just the fact that that we're just restating the same things over and over again, which is fine because we're enjoying a win. But just seeing him like when they don't give him the Viego, he's like, oh, okay. Are you sure? You sure? Like, is it,
right.
Which way would you like to die? Okay.
Right. Viego's been in competitive for what? Like a split? Do you think I don't have other champions ready? Yeah. Okay. great.
Man, this
Oh,
dude.
Lee Sin's up. Yeah, I've got a few reps.
And not to mention, how like it's not just like the play on the riff, but leadership wise and how he's looked in the heist, like as like just a fun personality, someone who's, you know, engaging and a real success story of coming into NA from a different region and completely popping off and taking over. And undisputed, how can you ever have a more finals MVP than this closer?
No.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any way you can do this. So I'm sad that, you know, the split didn't end differently for us in the regular season, so that we couldn't lock down MVP. Maybe we wouldn't have anyway because we had so many good players on the team, whereas, you know, TSM is a little more debatable in that. But
do you think if they set if they set the finals MVP vote to the same people who get the all LCS team votes, do you think there are people who don't vote for closer just because they've demonstrated that they're incapable of making an unbiased decision?
So this was funny. I don't know how many of you guys follow Jordan on Twitter. Most of Jordan's Twitter yesterday was about Spica MVP, and I think Jordan is way more upset about that award than I am.
Yeah, I hadn't really paused to consider it. I was just thinking, like, this dude is clearly MVP level.
Yeah,
I just think it's, you know, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that happened with us that it was clear people weren't putting respect on us. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
They didn't think we were legit. They didn't think we deserved the acclaim we got throughout the split. And the timing of our lull and the rut that we fell into was perfect for the doubters, because
I told you all split.
I knew they couldn't keep it up. See, they're gonna get the playoffs and they're gonna stink up the winners bracket with their stinky gameplay. And then this happens.
Yeah.
So it's done. It's over. And if anybody tries to talk about it now, they have revealed themselves to be sort of an idiot.
Keep talking that talk. Look, I'm more forgiving with this because, like, look, we didn't play well, you know, for a while. So
for sure,
you know, but it is funny, yeah, how many of it like was the I told you. I had to clap back at some people with that for sure. Though again, I predicted a loss. But before the split, I tweeted this out. You know, before the split started, when we found out what our roster was, you know, found out we had the Reaper acquisition, you and I sat here on the podcast thinking, you know, where are we going to fall? And it was basically like, we think we're top 2.
Yeah.
And we were virtually the only people saying that, you know, and of course you can't take what those guys say seriously because one, they're idiots. True. But two, they're 100 Thieves fans. And yeah, I'm happy.
I should be clear. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'm happy to see many people admitting, wow, I really underestimated what this team was capable of, especially because a lot of them were not underestimating just on how we were playing, but what they thought our ceiling would be. It's not like they were saying, oh, this team is really, really good if they all play super well, but I don't think they can play well and they're back. No, it was just like, no, this team, even at their ceiling, would not compete with the other guys, you know? So that's what's so wrong about it.
Yeah. And I should be clear. I'm thinking specifically of the people who continue. We'll see this happens. Maybe this is done. But the people who try to advance the argument that this team and this organization isn't invested and is in esports and isn't a competitive threat to other teams, right? Because we do X, Y, or Z other things, whether it's hoodie or content or whatever. And the thing that is a bummer, and actually this is something I want to get into. This is not on the agenda, so we'll see. And I know we're in the middle of the player thing, but I'll bring this up when we come back to it if we have time.
Sure.
I think it's actually really detrimental to the overall ecosystem of the LCS and NA specifically when people choose to diminish teams rather than call it honestly, right? And I think it's such an interesting counter to LCS. There's so much that the LCS had like so much baggage. So
yeah, baggage is for
so
sure.
much baggage. Look at Valorant. And we talked about this when we did Fast Peak last week, but I know a lot of people don't catch that show just because it's a smaller audience. Sentinels, when we made it to grand finals to play against them, they tweeted out, it's a battle of the best. We built this region, referring to us and to them. And that was a very intentional choice that I have a ton of respect for, because they could have done this. They could have memed us, and like so many other people have, to say, well, we're surely going to win because these guys have no business being here.
Right.
Their business is on 100thieves.com, catch
selling
the foundations
hoodies.
drop. Yeah, exactly. And I think the only thing that hurts is, well, there's two things. I think it hurts yourself, because then if you win, what are you going to say? Of course we won. They suck. Where does that put you, right? Where does that position you as a competitor in the region that you are locked into? So, and then the other thing it does is it hurts the region. So you're diminishing your own accomplishment, and you're giving everybody the impression that the second best team is crap. So yeah, you should definitely be worried about us, but everybody else sucks. It's just such a it's such a self-defeating attitude. It's constant in the LCS. And I think it plays out that way. You go to Worlds and people don't take us seriously. Nobody expects us to do well at Worlds anymore.
Yeah.
In part because we haven't. But I think and look, this is not the only thing, right? But if the teams in the LCS gave themselves respect, and others, that this is a good team that we're going into, and I hope that we have a good series and that we can both show up and play the game that I know we're all capable of playing here, because it's going to be fun for you to watch, instead of saying, you might as well not tune in because it's already decided, they're trash. Like, what a difference that would make. But instead, it's just this constant, like, it's all about the memes, dude. It's a bummer. And I hope now, and this is what I was getting to when I said that I think people are, revealing themselves. If we continue to see people saying that about us at this point, if we start during next split, if we hear people saying it was a fluke, they don't belong, that banner is not earned, like, I don't know what it takes. And I think that there are some people who are they're just intent on, consuming that energy and then spitting it back out. And I don't know what it's going to take to change it, but like, we're the combo breaker. We have a new banner. And I like to think that people recognize that there is talent, and NA can be a region. We'll see how we do at Worlds, but I like to think that it's not always going to be the same, where it's like, there are 3 good teams and everybody else sucks. And if you're not sending TSM to Worlds, don't worry about it. We're not going to do well.
And that was best segment of the pod, sponsored by Rip It Energy Fuel by Jordan.
This is brought to you by Rip It.
Man.
Do you know what I'm saying, though?
You were spitting. Yep, for sure. And I, that's interesting given like some of what happened in the post-game pressers, because it's like there's a duality, and I think the scene and orgs are starting to come around on that. You're seeing signs of it, right? Like Team Liquid and C9, they both congratulated the other teams on making Worlds, right? We saw, I think earlier today, was it? Or maybe it was a different day, but C9 like took pictures of them delivering flowers to 100 Thieves and TL. Like the org side, I think is maybe starting to turn that around, but the players, I don't know about that. It's hard to judge. Some of them, yes, some of them, no. I mean, watching, and given it's a losing press conference, so no one's at their best, no one wants to talk, right. But it's like they're asking Jensen, like, hey, like this class of mid laners going to Worlds from NA is actually, looks pretty good. What do you think about that? Like, do you think this is the best group of mid laners we've ever sent? And he's like, no one really impressed me during playoffs. And I was like, all right, well, you got absolutely destroyed by Abbedagge. So are you sure you're not impressed? And do you know who? Yeah, you know who else is going? It's a man named Perks. You know what I mean? Like, you really don't think that there's mid lane talent going to Worlds, and it's like no one's saying it's like, oh yes, they're all imports. In fact, the reporter who asked the question pointed that out. But it's like, look at what we're sending now. This is cool. This is competitive. And he's just like, no one impressed me or something like that. Like, goodness gracious, dude.
That's just unbelievable. Imagine the Patriots. Like, think of some very winning franchise doing that, right? Say like, hey, Super Bowl's coming up. Don't worry about it. You know, it's like, it's just the Steelers. They're not good. That would never happen. It would never happen. And I feel like that's what builds excitement. It's just unbelievable. Like, does nobody in this thing realize how to get people excited? I swear it all just comes back to this. Like, I mean, I think a lot of people are going to interact with this tweet. So let's see what we can do here.
Yeah.
What a joke, man.
Yeah. The attention seeking and the, like, I don't know, just the league needs to mature for sure. But again, I think we're probably seeing signs that that's starting to happen. So hopefully,
I think we're forcing people to.
Yeah.
Because I think you're going to be laughed at if you continue to say 100 Thieves is not good.
Yeah. Well, that was a great deviation from what we were talking about. I don't think, though, we gave Closer his proper toast. So let's go back to that. Closer, a sip of the rip for you.
You're not going to be surprised. Well, I'm about to run out of Rip It.
You kill it so quick, man. I dumped Rip It on my head in the last stream, and you still ran out way earlier than me. What are you doing?
I did. You saw it. I got to fuel this energy somehow, and it's Rip It Energy Fuel. That's how I do it. Called TM. Brought to you by.
All right. Next person on my list. This is one of so.
You're not just going down the rift here?
No, I'm not. Prophet Cole has largely done well this split. A couple of missteps like this finals prediction, but I did think we were going to beat C9 and get in there, right? So good on me. Where I have done the best in making predictions is the straight up, this is what feels like the rhythm of everything is, right? When I said, like, it's hard to win for a long time, you're going to see us stumble. And then when I said, it's hard to win for a long time, we're going to beat EG. You know what I mean? Which, remember, EG was like probably the consensus favorite going into the playoffs. You guys remember that? When people didn't think TL was the best, but that EG was the best? And one of the things that I made a prediction based on was, we haven't heard from FBI in a while, and he's not the kind of guy to let that go. And I said, this is carry watch for FBI. He's going to show up.
You coined a phrase. Carry watch.
Right. And this dude popped off on a champ, by the way, on Philios with mixed results from him. The funniest thing being, previously. The funniest thing to me is before this past weekend, one of the things we would joke about, because he plays well. He's obviously a really good player on like any champ. But one of the things we joke about is whiffing Aphelios ults, because there was a lot of that during regular season, right? That in particular was like the most insane thing from his Aphelios play this weekend. He had that game altering Infernum into 4 members of TL. He did 6,600 damage in that one fight, which was like 1,000 more than all of Team Liquid combined in the fight. We saw him popping off on that, like, and mentality wise, this is the thing about him. He has supreme confidence and bloodlust. Like, he wants to kill the other bot laners so bad. He'll stop at nothing to kill them. You know what I mean? And I just knew, like, he's not going to be, and it's not like he was silent, but it's like, he's not going to be anything less than excellent for very long, you know? And what a weekend from him. It looked great. And I got on the broadcast on Saturday with like FBI pew pews incoming. They actually put that up on the broadcast.
6th champion. Yep.
Yeah, just because like I knew that this guy was gonna pop off this weekend.
Yep.
And it's again, especially after seeing his comms from the heist. So huge kudos to him stepping up in a big way. Anything else on him other than we love him and he's the best ADC in the region?
Yeah, it's not a question. I'd say it's not close.
We alluded to it earlier. His Jhin looked awesome.
Oh,
and when we kind of had an iffy Jhin game from him earlier in the season, and his ults, the Jhin ults, were so on point this weekend that every time he opened up for the ult on Jhin, it was like there was an element of surprise to it. And then that element of surprise quickly transitioned into a different flavor of surprise where this is the perfect angle.
Yeah.
Right?
Trapped.
It's like every time it came out, first of all, you're like, oh, because that's one of the most exciting ults to come out, right?
Truly.
And then you see where it is and where they are. And you're like, oh, he's about to smoke everybody, you know? And he did.
Yep.
So I was so happy watching him just go off. I don't know.
Not a champ, honestly. More of a team fighting. Like that's the team fighting champ with that. And I think that some of his strengths are in the champions. Like when Kai'Sa was really in the meta, I thought he was just an absolute
he was an animal. Yeah.
Aphelios has so much damage that he can win a team fight by himself. But just the setups were so, and it was like a lot of times it would come out when people were at about 30% HP. And so you'd get the bonus damage, hitting like those shots were doing crazy amounts of damage. People were getting slowed down. They were getting cleaned up. It was just a different look. And I thought it was awesome. And yeah, I would not. And that's, I think I said this, it was maybe the C9 series, but we did, we didn't show a team fight comp for a couple games in that series. Like we were playing all over the map. And then we brought out the team fight comp. I was like, oh yes, dude, this is return to form. Our team fights are looking crisp. They're looking very good. And I think it's really cool to see us finding a way to really work him into that as just another layer of basically inescapable doom in the team fight. Like if we can set this thing up, you get the Alistair pop up, you get the shockwave, you get the Jhin ult, like there's no escape. You're done.
Yeah. Well, a giant sip of the rip to you, FBI. All right. Huhi. Again, we mentioned he played All-Star all 3 games of this series, looked on point all weekend. So there's basically like 1 or 2 mistakes from the entire weekend. And one of those was Huhi getting caught in that same spot off of mid on his roams, right? And who cares? Because he was so clean in everything else. Game-breaking pick. His play topside in when Abbedagge got initiated on. Abba, first of all, an amazing flash over the wall, like at exactly the right time to keep himself safe. Tosses the shockwave in to set up 3, and Huhi jumps the wall with the ulti, with the headbutt, with the knock up, gets 3 of them, delays them long enough that they're going to get cleaned out. Like it was a thing of beauty. He was so good all year. He never had like a bad period of time. And I'm really happy that a lot of the narrative in the post game, in the since it happened space has been about how cool is it that he role swapped and got another title with a team he had played for before. Is it 3 squads that he's won titles with now, or is it just 2? I don't remember, but he's won multiple titles.
Did he get 2 with CLG? I think so, because CLG won back to back.
Yeah. There it is. Right. So, and it's just like, just a nice like arc for him. He's changed roles and still found a way. And that is. He's been so valuable, so underappreciated, and has been doing Lord's work for 100 Thieves all split long. Not to mention just being an awesome dude, So I'm really happy with him. Anything else from you? I know we talked about the All-Star a lot already, but
I think that one of the things he said that I thought was really cool is that he was just really happy that he got to win a title with his best friends, you know?
Mhm.
And he said, like, since the Golden Guardian days, like, these guys we're all really good friends. And it shows. And yeah, I feel like that's the other thing I said is I noticed this. He's the only person to win championships on the two teams that are, or the three teams that are not kind of the ones who always win, right? He won with CLG, he won with 100T. So he is like the I don't know, I guess he's the one who always has found a way to make it happen. And his arc, the full arc, is unbelievable. You know, role swapping. Like people say role swap and they just assume that, like, you know, week 3 he was mid and then week 4 he was support, and it was, you know, like, yeah, he's pretty good. He went back to square one. He was academy. He played in academy a long time. And not like a crazy amount of, you know, but like he put in the reps. He did the time and he earned it. He earned it. He earned his way back.
Yeah.
And then to have this kind of a game up against Core JJ, who,
right,
you know, first, it was close.
It's
first
like
team.
It was close, very close. 6 points, 67 to 61 was what it was. And you know, best support, best NA support in history, right? Core JJ, which he's very good.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Everybody loves
There's
him.
no doubting that. It's similar to Ssumday, where it's like this just felt like the perfect. You had best top laner, you have best support, you know, and these guys showed that doesn't matter to them.
Yeah. Get ready because it's another NBA analogy.
Yes, with Cole.
But LeBron returning to the Cavs, right?
Yeah.
Had his first stint, didn't go well. You could even argue LeBron kind of role swap because he was a different kind of player when he came back to the Cavs, you know? Yeah. And that's what it feels like, man. And he came back and brought the title to the desperate fans who wanted nothing more than a title. So as far as that piece of the puzzle is concerned, you know?
I hope that Huhi doesn't get snapped up by C9 or something, you know, like
they pay $12 million for him. Transfer fee.
That would really complete. Now, I understand LeBron went on good terms. I'm not ready for Huhi to go yet. I would like more Huhi, please.
Yes, I would like more everything, please. More all of them.
I've got good news for you, Cole.
Yeah.
They're all still on contract.
That's right. So a huge sip of the rip to Huhi. All right, and the last player on the list, Abbedagge. Who has along with Reaper changed the fates of 100T. The missing piece that we never had and always knew we needed.
Yep.
Stepping into the gigantic shoes left by Ryu, who we all love as one of the treasured, most underrated players, 100 Thieves history, and just like wise sage. We never had the level of play in the mid lane that made us not ever worry about that lane.
I mean, you've skipped a couple pairs of shoes, Cole. I'm just gonna say there are other shoes here.
Like I'm saying, we had some problems in that lane, man. But yeah, and to within one split, make this happen. And he looked very good this weekend. I think like what I've come to expect is he's not going to be, 9, 1, and 10 at the end of the game. What he is going to be doing is always making a difference.
Yep. And
materially helping the team in like an unseen kind of way, where it's like if you focus in on it, you can really see how much he's getting done. And then he'll have moments like the LeBlanc where he is styling, him and Ssumday. Was it Ssumday? It was Ssumday, right? In that bot lane when we were so far ahead and they were just like playing around with him. Abba like sidesteps the Core JJ flash engage, throws up the emote as he continues to dodge around in lane.
Oh, it's so good.
That was so funny, man. I literally was laughing to myself as this was happening.
And we know how Abba feels about Core at this point.
Yeah. Wow. That was very strong. Very strong. But tremendous expectations from us on him. You know, like that's thrust upon you when you're like a high level import mid laner, especially to a fan base who has been starving for that for such a long time. And you get the job done in one split. And you're cool headed the entire time about how it happens. Like this dude is like a rock, you know? And so I said, like, yeah, you know, even if we don't have that great of a split, I'm all in. My chips are all in for Abbedagge, like from the beginning.
Yep.
And he's just doing more every day to prove why. Had a great series. LeBlanc game was very memorable. What else did he play? He played Orianna. Yeah, the Orianna game too. Some excellent shockwaves. And then, the party portals. Oh my gosh. So my kids were around me as I was watching this, because usually I watch it like on VOD after they've gone to bed or whatever, but they're around me watching this middle of that series when we're really popping off, and we take like a party portal towards the end, and I'm just jumping like party portal, and my kids start saying that too. It's like my 7-year-old thinks party portal is like the funniest thing now. I just love it, man. It was,
they're gonna say that at school sometime. And people at school are like,
kids are like, what are you talking about? And then the other 100 Thieves fans kids will be like, yeah, I got you. That's Abbedagge.
Party portal.
So happy with that though. Like I said, I'll keep him forever. Like as long as we can have him, I will take him.
Yeah. I mean, put yourself in his shoes, right? Big move. So first on Schalke no longer a team. So like, you know, pretty rough, right? Like that would be unsettling for the org you're at before.
Yeah.
One, that was big. Like that was big to be sold to a different league in a different country on a different continent. And there's probably some part of me which kind of question, like, is this going to work out for me? Right. And to come to a league, and some people will say probably, you know, okay, well, he won an LCS title, like big whoop. But look at the people who didn't. Perks did a similar thing, you know, came to LCS for a lot more money and fell along the way to Abba winning this title. Like what a redeeming moment for him personally to have done the same thing as the universally celebrated kind of Hall of Fame player from the LEC, and to beat him to the title, right? And then,
well, so you're not counting the spring?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, but like when he was here, right? Like
okay.
He got it in the first split he was here. Like Perks never stopped him from getting the title, is what I was thinking of.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
But then the other thing is he did it on a team who, like, it was a long time since anybody else had won this thing other than the teams who always win it.
Yeah.
So like that is a feather in his cap, you know. That's him. I mean, like what more?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want this to go overlooked too, because you're talking about like carrying a new franchise to that glory,
hanging a new banner.
And pointing out all along the way how great 100 Thieves is to play for and to be with, right? And all the players are saying that too. Again, rewind 2 years, people do not view us in this light, you know? And I think that so much has happened where, you know, at this point you have to acknowledge the excellent job the team does. And the players are singing the praises. That's important. And that's part of the job of being like a superstar player for your franchise too, is, you know, lifting that burden as well. I mean, think about all the recruiting that goes on in other sports by the star players, you know?
Right.
So Abbedagge certainly helping that cause with how he's talking about 100T. So
yeah.
Well, a big sip of the rip then to Abbedagge, the mid laner who made a difference. All right.
And so concludes my rip it, Cole.
Well, so does not conclude the podcast because we still have to run through some listener takes and have one other thing I want to talk about.
Yep.
And we'll just do all of these. Some of these we've kind of talked about, but we'll just do them all because we're champions and we do what we want. Carl Skill 1. I think we have a legit chance of making it out of groups. We got so much better within the 2 weeks before playoffs. Imagine what we can do with even more time. Also, I think our playstyle fits really well for international competition. Now, before we say anything about this, I'll say that we'll do a Worlds focused preview pod later, closer to Worlds. We're not going to go deep into like all the other teams or whatever. We're just going to be talking about how we're feeling. But so I think the whole thing of like, can we make it out of groups? Our play style in international. What's your level of confidence there? Do you agree with Karlski on this one?
Yeah, I do. I think we have a legit chance. I don't think it's outrageous to say that we have a chance to make it out of groups.
And hey, we got the 1 seed helps in the draws, theoretically. We'll see how it plays out. But the 1 seed typically is designed to help.
There will be a group of death, and the odds of getting out of that group are by definition lower. We'll have to see which group we're in.
But we are the group of death.
Well, I mean, I think that means that it might not look like the group of death to others. Right?
Yeah.
The objective observer would say, that's a lock. That one's pretty good.
Yeah. Curly QQ says, and it's Curly QQ from Flight Check, by the way. So follow at Flight Check Crew on Twitter and Twitch, the FlyQuest flavored fan podcast. They say, first off, congratulations on winning LCS. I always believed in you guys in the long run, even if my pick'em said otherwise sometimes. To my question now, of the teams qualified so far and those you expect will get past play-ins, what would your ideal group be for 100T? So for this, Curly, we're going to hold this. We'll hold this take. We'll talk about it. I know you were really wanting us to talk about this. We're going to do that in a later pod. But in general, the ideal group for 100T is the group that we win, which is any of them. Bamatide88 says this. This is really interesting. Now, some background on this. Bamatide has been kind of saying these things in his takes and in his messages to me, like, repeatedly. This is not a revisionist history kind of guy. Like, this is what Bamatide has been preaching for a long time. And it's kind of long, so sorry about that. But he says, I don't understand why we chose, past tense chose, to limit our players. There's a clear difference in draft this time around, talking about the playoff run. And either we learned a lot about drafting last time versus Team Liquid, or just realized that the last draft, this didn't work. The champ pools are not small. The champ pools we were using were flawed. Most of the time, the pop-off games, besides Closer, are on new champs we don't show. Vayne, Jhin, LeBlanc, Alistar, Camille, Shen. I don't think this was the right approach to take for NA, but can understand this approach more for Worlds. Each of our individual players gapped the opponents. Why would you not let them flex and pop off in games? So I think, the general idea of this is like we were playing sort of the same thing for a while where the players weren't really cut loose. And, it was a lot of Varus, it was a lot of Ornn, a lot of Gnar, right? And Bamatide felt like that was very restrictive, and look what happens when you free us up. Again, been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks. How are you feeling about that take?
I mean, I feel like and it kind of goes back to what Reaper was saying, right? Like early season messaging was, I'm just going to get out of their way. Like unchain the players, let them, I believe they're all better. Let them be better, just set them up and let them pop off. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I don't know why we hit the rut we did. But it sure does. So it's kind of like, is the, in the games where we do this, right? We pick the champions that we aren't showing a lot. Is that just because things are working, or is doing that making things work, right? Like, it's which way is it going? And I think that's something that we don't know. as fans and don't have intel on. I like to imagine, because I have full confidence in Reaper, right? And not just because I like him and I want to believe in him, but I think he's demonstrated that we can and should have confidence in him right now, because of what he accomplished. So I have to start from a spot of something was going on, which made it so that this wasn't a viable approach to the game. But I think it's a really good question that Bamatide's asking here, which is, I mean, I've seen these players play, and good luck convincing me that just doing this is not a good bet. You know, and I don't have a great rebuttal to that notion.
Yeah. Well, certainly part of the return to form for 100T was returning to that philosophy, you know, so credit to them for making that change. Dargor,
getting us back to a place where we could do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like maybe that's a little bit of what happened during scrims and practice and bot review.
Yeah. Dargor says, giving a lot of hopium, but 100T will be the first NA #1 seed to perform well at Worlds, despite what group they end up in, excuse me. Looking at how the team grew over 3 weeks of playoffs gives me a lot of hope that they can learn quickly and effectively during the initial scrim time and come out strong with great meta reads and map coverage. And I think for that, we can just say, let's go.
Yep.
JC101 says 2 things. Ssumday off of Warren duty and into playmaking champs. And he says playmaking doesn't necessarily mean carries. So I think like proof of concept, right? Was how this past weekend went. Second, did you see the stone cold faces of the team after they won the first 2 games? If not, then go back and look Men on a Mission. And I did. And I saw it all day from them on Sunday. Which is a beautiful thing. It lines right up with our LeBron Celtics meme, as I pointed out.
Yep.
Papa Zan, with kind of like a comment, said, not really a take, but I'm just amazed by how 100T has built this trophy in 2 years. From getting Papa Smithy, locking Ssumday down, which don't forget, we extended Ssumday at a vulnerable time in our roster building. Picking up the GG roster all the way to Reaper to Abbedagge, this trophy truly was not given, but we sure did take it.
Well said.
Well said, Papa Zan.
We didn't talk about Papa Smithy.
We will.
And okay.
But yeah, go ahead. Do you have something to?
No, I don't. I just want to make sure we did. So if we will, then we will.
Yeah. Well, right. And more on that later in this pod, but also in another episode. Because of course, trust the Papa. That's been the motto, right? that's been the motto. Zach Taylor said, why do fans still continue to doubt Nadeshot's care for the LCS team? After 4 years of nothing but continual proof that he wants to win, fans still continue to doubt him. And I think that this is maybe like the time that this will all change. Because like, just seeing him be so emotional and so involved in this, it's been real. And yeah, I just like, we've always pointed out that this is true about them, that they want to win. They want to do everything they can. And today we can look back and say, like, just watch how happy he is. Watch how crazy he's going about this. He even like clipped something about like, to all the doubters before the series, like everybody predicting us to lose. I don't want to hear anything from you after this. You know, he said that on stream. Just the dude is fully committed. And if you can't see that, I just don't know what to tell you. But
yeah. I think, for me, and you called this out, it's like, just watch the clip. It's all over Twitter of the moment that they won. And it's Nadeshot, it's John Robinson, it's Jackson. They're the 3 dudes who jump up first and hug each other. And if you can't recognize in that moment how much this means to them. I mean, look, these are guys who've won titles. They've won championships and other titles and other games.
Right.
They've gone back to back. You know, they went back to back in the game that put Nadeshot on the map. And I couldn't help but feel like this meant more in some ways, you know? Like, so 100% agree. Yeah. And I think you just look at that moment. Like, this is 3 guys who've been working for this very specific thing for the better part of 4 years. Oh, and longer than that, you know, like as long as he's been building this whole brand, obviously. But from franchising at the start of 2018.
Yeah.
Like this is what they had at their sights set on. And you know, they did a lot to make this happen.
Yeah.
There was never a moment where I was convinced they had kind of let this out of their sights.
And again, more on that later. Glenn E. Taylor says, continuing the theme of my question from last week, how close do you think League is to actually discussing results in gameplay legitimately, like nameplates are off? Floor and ceiling discussions are good entry points, but only if theoretical results drive narratives. Oh, I'm sorry, but if only theoretical results drive narratives, why play the games? And this was cool because Papa Smithy kind of alluded to this on Summoning Insight today too. They were having discussion about like what it's like to take an LS kind of approach to the game, and like, oh yeah, well, like this is what would happen in perfect world with perfect players that do everything, and this is how League of Legends should be played and everything. And then Papa Smithy said the same thing, like, why play the games? Right. But the question is, how close are we to analyzing games like that and talking about things like that? I think very far.
Yeah.
And the problem is, as Jordan was pointing out, the most popular people talking about League are the ones that are going as far as possible away from this, right? LS maybe is like, I don't know, like his approach is kind of like a nameplates off kind of thing, right? But it's not realistic. That's the problem. It's not grounded in what's happening and who the players are as individuals. It's all theoretical, right? And then on the other end, you have like I Will Dominate or whoever who just want to like, or Double Lift, Medios, like they just want to like trash people all the time and like make jokes and just like bring everyone down with how they talk about the game. And because they're oriented like that, they base a lot of what they say, I feel like, before they even see what happens. Cause it's like, oh, it's 100 Thieves, blah, 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 blah.
There you go.
It's CLG, blah, 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 blah. So you don't get any sort of reasonable context. And I think 100 Thieves fans probably have fought this in recent years more than any other team, because maybe it's because people felt threatened that there's like a new franchise that actually does a good job. Mm-hmm. And because in our first year, there were a couple roadblocks that like messed us up. They want that legacy to live on so they can have something to make fun of or whatever. But it's like, you cannot take us, like, you have to pay attention to what we're doing now. You can't just dismiss us. The banner is going to be hanging forever,
Yep. I have a minor theory on this. This is not going to be as long as my last go, but I think there is something to be said for, I think a lot of the people you hear speaking who have the biggest platforms and speak the loudest in the room are the ones who they have a sense of perceived value that is based on how right they are. And I think that's very common in League conversation, that if you aren't right, why are we listening to you? And it does in this, where I'm not the first person to call this out. You hear people talk about it a lot, both people who are in the scene, who are like talking about games, who's it's their job to do this. But I think one of the side effects of that is you kind of have to make your bet, right? And put yourself in the position of somebody right now whose livelihood depends on having an audience and a platform in the League space. And it's a risk for you to say that NA is going to do well. Mm-hmm. Because if you do and we don't, then you're an idiot. And people are going to let you know that. So it's a wager, right? Do you spend the next X number of weeks leading up to Worlds saying, here's why NA still is going to be horrible, and none of this matters, it's still not good? Historically speaking, that's a higher percentage chance outcome.
Yeah.
Because we've not done well. So I think it's really just this, I got to convince people I know what I'm talking about here. And if I say that we're going to do well and we don't, they think I'm an idiot. And if I say that we're not and we do, great. I'll just, hey, okay, well, here's why this shouldn't have happened, and we'll just move on. I think it's that. I think it's a lot of that.
Yeah. Plus, just like building reputations built on trashing people, that too. So those two things together, yes, let's dump on NA. Yeah. But who cares what we have to say? We have like 70 people watching.
That's fine.
Oh my Josh 5 says, think back before this weekend. What would have been your expectations for Worlds if it ended then? So before this weekend, which means that we're going to losers bracket versus C9, right? What are your expectations now after we won? Is it different or the same? Now, I don't know if I can say concretely what my expectations are yet, because, I have not surveyed, the scene shaping up for us at Worlds yet. But if we're talking before this weekend and comparing it to after this weekend, for me, huge difference. Because even though we played well, we're looking good. Like, we beat EG, we showed resilience, which has been a huge thing for me. I did not have the level of confidence in what we were doing. We had not gone as high as we did this weekend, right? And think about the difference between like your playoff resume being, we beat EG and then lost to Team Liquid, and versus, we beat the favorites EG, lost to Team Liquid, but then we beat surging C9, and then we stomped, favorite Team Liquid. Like, it's a different ball game now, with this. Very much. And the way that all the players individually got better and played so well during that stretch.
Yeah.
We have much more of a legitimate grasp of what this team is capable of. Mm-hmm. And I feel way more confident in that than I did if we were to have ended last week. You guys know, I've said it, I've had to admit it so many times that I didn't think we were going to win this finals. So yeah, for me, it's totally different now.
Yeah. And I'll just add that the fact that we did it while answering so many of the questions that we had about the team as fans.
Exactly. Yes.
We answer them emphatically. And so that gives me a lot of confidence.
Yeah,
for sure.
One more.
Great question.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Last one from Apple Alt on Twitter. Just wanted to say we just played better. We sure did. You guys saw my video that I tweeted right after we won. I was definitely feeling that vibe. We're just better. Oh man, what a great weekend. So let's talk about this. I want to rewind back to some conversation that we've had 2 or 3 times during the course of this year, where we talked about like our goal, our goal is to make Worlds thing, right? And something that I pointed out, and Jordan, I think you agreed with me too, that I think the most meaningful thing to us would be a domestic title. Okay. Yes. And it's like Worlds is great, cool, want to be there, obviously. There's just so many benefits to being at Worlds, reputation wise, practice wise, experience wise, right? There's so much that goes into it. Super important. But I've always felt like the thing 100 Thieves needs as a company, as an org, not just as an LCS team, but we need that domestic title. That would legitimize us in a way that, just going to Worlds 2 or 3 times in a year, in consecutive years, does not do. When you win a title, your logo is up in the studio now. You can say, all right, well, why didn't you beat us then? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there, it's and the way we won it too, you can't dispute the result. So, right. Prophet Cole, man, I believed firmly in that, and now look at how we are feeling because we won this. Right. And as much expectation as I had for this being such an anchor and a cornerstone for the program going forward, it feels like that times 10 in actuality. Actually going through it, actually watching the content that's coming out from like the team celebrating and the org and seeing all the tweets that people are tweeting about the team. There's a new level of respect. There is just like expectations have shifted. They've changed. Things are different now. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there are haters, there are doubters. They're always going to be there. But the more reasonable percentage of the population, like, you have to look at us in a different light now. The title is everything, man. It's everything. We won. I tweeted this out that we're now the only org who has won titles in Call of Duty, Valorant, and League of Legends. A lot of people missed the point of that tweet. They're like, oh, well, how many teams compete in all three of those, right? And that's part of the point, right? We compete in these premier esports, and now we have won championships in all of them, right?
Right.
This is our 4th year as an org, and we've accomplished that already. We've got those trophies in our case, you know, at the HQ. Like we've got those trophies now. Winning in Call of Duty is difficult. Winning in Valorant is difficult. Winning in League of Legends, a league that's been around for a really long time and has some established, entrenched favorites, dynasty orgs that monopolize everything, that spend ridiculous money. These, you know, this is an incredibly difficult feat to accomplish.
Right.
Not to quote Thorin, I'm sorry to do this, but he tweeted out this stat earlier today that since franchising started, TSM has made Worlds, I think twice. So have we. It might have been once. Even once. Yeah, I think it was once. They made Worlds once. We've made it twice. They've got one title. We've got one title. You know, like on paper, we're more successful during the franchise era than TSM. That's not something that's easy to come by. Like think how hard it is to pull these rosters together, to get these players to agree to come to you instead of to C9, to TL, to TSM. All right.
Yep.
We've climbed that mountain. And we are there. And we are legitimate. This is not Hoodie org anymore. And I hope they take Mont's suggestion to make like a Hoodie org hoodie. I hope so bad for that to happen. Yeah. Because that meme has come full circle now, right? I tweeted, I'm sorry, I lost my like train of thought because I tweeted that stat out, right? And it was like retweeted by Courage and like some other people. So it's got like 8,500 likes now. And it just has popped off. And the amount of respect that has been shown to that is incredible. Yeah. Disregard all the idiots in comments. There are like a dozen people who are still debating right now.
Right.
About, well, can you count First Strike as a title or not? I don't think Valorant hasn't been around long enough for it to matter. Whatever.
Yo, I 100% believe those people are they're just so hungry to have Courage interact with them in some way. That's why those replies exist.
Maybe. But the point is, we knew that a domestic title would change things. We knew it would be important. Even knowing that, I am blown away by how much more it means than I thought. I felt it, man. I felt it. And when the team called us during last night's pod, I felt that. You know, when I watched them celebrate, I felt that. Yeah. This is different. 100 Thieves is here. I cannot believe we got this done in 2021. I cannot believe it. It's an incredible feat of esports, and this is why 100 Talk exists. We latched on to this org because it was different. I had zero interest in following esports orgs in League of Legends. I had no interest in it, but this org did things differently. I watched the content. I watched Nadeshot. I watched them tell the story of building a company, and I fell in love with it. And we picked this org and we were right. So everybody in chat, everybody listening, we're here. We've done it. The fans have gotten the payout. And this is like top of the world for us, man. This is top of the world.
Yeah.
It's so good. And this is just the beginning. This is year 4. Think what else we have to look forward to.
And think about this too. The things on our, well said, by the way.
Thanks.
I think you summed it up incredibly well. It only gets more fun from here, honestly. Like, look, it's not going to be smooth. Don't mistake that. I didn't say it's going to be smooth sailing from here, but it gets more fun from here. Like, we're not going anywhere, you know, even if there is a down split, even if we, you know, something happens and our plan just doesn't go exactly as we want, we will be back because we've already done that cycle. We've already been there, been down, been back to the top. So don't tell me that we can't get back here at any point in the future. I'm fully convinced that this is an organization you won't keep down. You can't keep them down.
No.
Think about the things that are on our bucket list now as an org, right? Like the things we haven't yet accomplished, the things that we're going to add to the trophy list, because there will be more. They're things that people haven't done, right? It's like we've got an LCS title. You know, we'll be gunning for more of those. We want to do well at Worlds. We're going to Berlin. You know,
yeah, we're gonna have VCT. You know, if we can make it to VCT, like for the finals, whatever they're calling it, the grandest finals.
Yeah. So it's exciting stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's a really good time to be a fan.
Yeah.
And stock is high.
So one last sip of the rip then. To Nade Shot, to Jackson, to John Robinson, to Gabe, to Blake, to Logan, to Jungle Juice, to the OGs who built this thing. One last sip of the rip for you. Thank you. We're
Thanks.
champions.
We got him.
We got him. All right, guys. I don't know if we'll be here on next Monday. We're not. We don't know what the pod schedule is going to be, but we're not going anywhere. We're going to be around. There will be more streams before Worlds, of course. Rec League will be happening. So keep an eye on our Discord. Keep an eye on our Twitter. We'll be doing more of this. We'll raid Travis here in just a second. But as always, guys, we love you. And we miss you already.
Take care.
All right, let's get this Travis raid going.
Let's do it.
See what Freeze has to say. You guys are the best. Best community in the world. Thank you.
Yep. Love you guys.
All right, we'll see you over there. All right.